folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it means it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. I'm your host, Jim Reid, Bluffsterini in the home game and RecPoker Jim on Twitter. And I'm joined by John Somsky, the one and only. And we're also joined by Rob Rabman Washam. But before he gets in here, I got to thank our amazing sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and Mark Prashan over at Website Amp. Because if you don't know what RecPoker is all about, we're a largely volunteer, mostly free poker learning community. We get together. We love talking about poker, learning poker together, beating our friends at this game that we love. And we do it all here at RecPoker. So without further ado, John Somsky, why don't you tell folks where they can reach you, and then Rob can pipe in and give a little of the same.
I am Poker Geek MN, and I'm John Somsky, and I'm Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabmad50, just about everywhere.
Just about everywhere. Nice. Well, it's great to have you guys here, just like every week. We don't have a guest this week because it's the July 4th weekend for you Americans. For us Canadians, it's the Canada Day weekend. We got the Friday off. You got the Monday off. Finally, something we can all agree on. This is a good long weekend to celebrate, spend some time with the family. So we thought this would be a good chance for us to kind of get together and catch up a little bit. We relaunched the website in July. We've launched the premium membership in July a few years ago. This sort of early July time kind of feels like a natural time to get together and talk about what's been going on and what's coming up. So yeah, without further ado, I guess and of course, if you're here watching on YouTube, I encourage all our folks to watch live on YouTube. You can enter the chat in real time. We're going to have a little contest at the end of the show so people can get in there and check that out. But yeah, so it is on the recording of this. It's July 4th. It's the Monday holiday itself. Last weekend was RecPoker Weekend, which had a big 2-day event in Minnesota at the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And then we had a little get together down in Las Vegas for some of our RecPoker folks that were already down there. If I'm smart and thinking about it ahead, I'll upload some of the photos from those events and put them in the show notes. So no promises, but it's very possible that you'll see some photos from those events in the show notes. If not, go to rec.poker/road trips, and you should be able to see some posts that website Mark will put together outlining how everything went there. John, I got to meet you in the flesh at Running Aces for RecPoker Weekend. What a treat that was. You're no stranger to Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, but it was kind of a fun little tournament series out there. How did you end up doing in that, and was it a fun time?
Well, the answer to the second question is absolutely was fun. As far as how I particularly did, I'm still shaking some of the rust off when it comes to playing live poker. So not particularly great there.
Yeah, I felt like I was shaking some of the rust off the first time Doug Dragbeck took me out of the tournament. We played a 3-tournament series there. I was playing as a bounty. So the winner, whoever took me out, won a free month at RecPoker. So the Cole, I don't remember Cole's first name, but he was the assassin that slipped in and took me out in the first tournament. And then Doug Dragbeck took me out of both the other tournaments. So the guy is a monster. Yeah, we told you the whole time, come and get some easy money coming on these bounties. Come on by and check it out. But that was phenomenal. And John Barrows, who's the tournament manager down there, just did a great job setting everything up. We got some extra prizes to put in. I got to meet all sorts of awesome RecPoker people. I know you guys did as well. Some folks even made the drive in from out of town, which was really cool. Some people put some real kilometers on their autos getting in there for that trip. So it was really cool to see folks coming together. I got to deal with a couple flight delays and cancellations, which is always exciting. It adds that kind of spice to life. You know, life would be too boring if it went too smoothly. And Rob, you were hoping to get together with us in the RecPoker meetup down in Las Vegas, but you also had some spicy elements in your life, some trip changes, and you weren't able to make it down there. But how's everything going in Bullhead City?
Well, it's going good. Actually, I was in Vegas. I did play Saturday night in an Orleans tournament, and then I started coming down with something on Sunday.
Uh-oh.
And I felt that I probably shouldn't expose myself to too many people after that. So we just headed home.
Yep.
And I spent most of the week in bed. I was a little sick. So
oh no. Oh man.
I tested negative for COVID, but that's an at-home test. So I just took it easy, stayed home, and I didn't risk wanting to expose anybody to whatever I felt I was coming down with. So I got the heck out of there.
Sounds like the smart play. Smart play. Well, you were missed, Rob. I know that at the get together there.
I really wanted to be there. I like I say, I was planning on being there. We left on Sunday, so I could have easily been there had I felt better.
Well, it sounds like you made the right choice. I hope a lot of other people down at the WSOP are also making the right choice this summer at summer camp. I know COVID's very prevalent down there, but there's always just the Rio flu or whatever they call it now. What would that Bally's flu this year, I guess. There's always something going around there that people are picking up on. So I don't know. The fact that you're testing negative, that's good news anyway. I'm glad you sound better. So I'm sounds like you must be on the other side of it by now.
Yeah, I'm pretty much recovered now.
Nice. Well, now it's just a question of looking forward a little bit. As folks might know, I got a chance to win a satellite tournament entry into the main series, the main event this week. So I'm actually just about to jump on a plane and head on down and dip my toe into day 1D. That's the plan anyway, although I hear that day 1D is growing exponentially and to frightening proportions. I'm seeing reports on Twitter that people should really maybe register early for that one or expect some 10-handed play, long alternate waiting lines, that kind of thing. So it might, I don't know, if this plane flight gets delayed or canceled and I get down there a little late, I might end up having to take Kim Pet Vet Kilroy's advice and register on day 2 after all, even though I'd be robbing myself of that experience. I know, Rob, it pains you even to think about it. So talk to me about that day 1 and sort of what that experience is like and what I'd be giving up if I did.
Well, I found that I only played it once. I played day 1. I did make day 2. I found that day 1 was a really enjoyable experience. You start with a huge ton of chips. You have 2-hour blind levels, so there's no pressure to make something happen. You can really just sit back and play premium holdings and get to know your table mates. And I just had a wonderful day 1. Day 2, I came back to about 60 big blinds or whatever I had, and they were the tables I was at, and they, again, on day 2, they seemed to be combining tables a lot more, a lot faster. Mm-hmm. So I ended up being on 3 different tables on day 2, where I was only on 1 table on day 1. And day 2 was like everybody was headphones, sunglasses, nobody was talking. It was just a really hardcore environment day 2. So I like day 1 just because I had so much fun on day 1. I just had a great day. I had a great table. Everybody was having fun. Everybody was talking. It makes a big difference, I think. So I think the experience, especially if you've never played it before, you want to play both days. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But we'll just see. We'll just see what the powers that be have in store. What do you guys think if they do end up having to play 10-handed? And no one said that actually will happen or not, but there was a WSOP, an official tweet from the WSOP account saying that they were considering 10-handed and long lines of alternates. Does that kind of change the competitive balance of one of the days is played 10-handed, one of the day 1s is 10-handed, and the other days are 9-handed like usual? I'm trying to decide if that would even be an advantage or a disadvantage for certain kinds of players. I'm just finding out today, so I haven't really put any thought into it, but it seems like it's
I think it's
detail.
Definitely a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon your play style, I mean, the more players you get in there, the tighter you have to play in order to, or the balance should be towards playing tighter. So if you're not a very tight player, then you might have more issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that they don't like to turn people away from registering. So they will they tend to do anything they can to find rooms, find places to play, and get everyone in who wants to go. And the last day is always the biggest day.
Yep, I've heard that too. And that does seem to be the case no matter what. I did see Kevin Mathers, a longtime friend of the show and Wrecking Crew member, Kev Math, talking about how if you register on Tuesday, which is day 1C, if you physically register for Thursday, the day before, or for Wednesday, the day before, then you should be able to count as one of the original registrants. You won't have to worry about an alternates line, something like that. But that isn't to say that they won't end up just adding that extra seat to the tables to make it, to just get as many people in there as possible.
I remember back in the day in Minnesota that if you played a tournament at Running Aces, you were playing 10-handed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The only time they went to 9-handed was in cash. So if you're playing cash, you're going to play 9-handed. But in most of their tournaments, they were 10-handed all the time. They just wanted to pack as many people onto a table as they could.
I wonder if, getting very personal here, I wonder if 10-handed might actually be a benefit to me in the main event specifically, because it will actually really help serve to remind me to throttle down. Like it might actually encourage me to play tighter, because I'm like, well, no, it not only is it the main event, but it's 10-hand. I'm just going to pass. I'm just going to pass on this little spot and pick a better spot, because that passing on spots is kind of my problem. So I just need more. Yeah, John.
One thing to remember for the main event in particular is you're going to be very deep stacked for a very long time. So even if you come in on day 2, I believe you still start with something like 30 bigs, or 40 maybe.
Oh no, I think even more. If you register for day 2, I'd read somewhere between 60 and 75. So you can buy in on
60
day 2
to 75. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So even better. I mean, 60 to 75 is plenty of big blinds to play poker.
Sure.
And if you're starting out on day 1, it's going to be your 100 big blinds, and blinds only go up every 2 hours. So you have plenty of time to just take your time. And when you have such a large stack, there is no pressure to do anything marginal.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you think you have a great exploitive move, you can just take your time, get a feel for, if you don't play a hand for the first hour, it's not going to hurt you at all.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point, John, that it's not going to hurt you. Because like so many of these multi-day tournaments, you actually cannot, you simply cannot win the tournament on day 1. You can increase your odds, you can get more chips, you can give yourself a little buffer. But if you're going to make one drastic change in your status on day 1, it's going to be by losing. That's the only thing you can really do on day 1. And
there is a stat also that the day 1 chip leader has never won the tournament.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, typically the day 1 chip leaders don't do very well, because in order to be a day 1 chip leader, you have to be taking, generally speaking, lots of unwarranted risks. And this is such a long tournament that will catch up with you. You have to have patience. I think that would be my biggest issue with playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I have not, for the record, ever played the main event.
I think that's a good point. We're getting some great comments here in the chat. So Jack LaRue, first of all, welcome, Jack. Nice to see your name in there. And Evil Roy Slade. So Slade is saying they changed day 2. They changed day 2 day for 1C players. So now what there was going to be on Thursday was going to be day 2 for flights A and B, and day 2 for flights C and D was going to be on Friday. And it sounds like Dave is saying here that they're combining C with A and B. So that's going to screw up some people's plans who intentionally played day 1C so that they'd get a break between day 2 and day 3. Now, oh no, they still will. So I guess he's just saying that the day 2D on Friday is just going to be day 1 entrance. That's interesting.
they were planning on doing C and D together, but now they're doing A, B, C together.
Yeah.
And then D on its own.
Yeah. So they really are expecting that to be quite a big day then, because that's a big difference. That's a big difference, huh? I wonder what else. Yeah. Dave says so. D isn't alone now. So I wonder what else that has to do with. I mean, it won't. You're still only playing the 9 people at your table, or 10. So there's only so much that you can kind of get lost in what's happening outside the realm of your control. But I'm always kind of curious to see how that kind of stuff influences things like the average chip stack, or, my gut says it's pretty marginal difference here in this case, which day the ones they combine with the others. Well, I'm just going to channel I'm going to do my best Rick Rock Omen impression, because apparently if you want to win poker tournaments, that's who has to be my spirit animal. So Rick continued to dominate at running aces in our running aces RecPoker Weekend. Rick, I think, won 2 out of the 3 tournaments. Mark Prashan also showed up and performed really well. I think he took second in one. And did he win the other one? A more together podcast host who was not flying to and from Las Vegas hither and thither would have some of this information available. But mea culpa, team. We'll have that up on the road trips post. But that was super fun, and those guys knew what they were doing. So Rick, if you have any tips on how to go deep in these tournaments, let me know. RecPoker Jim on Twitter, because I want to know, man. But it was super fun. Just I got to see my buddy Phil from Twitter. Drove on up down there and running aces. I got a bunch of folks that I wasn't expecting to see. Jim Gibson made a surprise visit, which was awesome. I got to spend some time with Captain Walleye, Rob Adson. In fact, because one of my flights was messed up, Rob even helped me get to the airport. I spent the night at his place, got to meet some of his family, and had dinner with he and his wife, which was a real pleasure. So Rob, if you're listening, thank you for that wonderful time.
Well, and speaking of Rob, he is to date the only person who has taken you up on your challenge and bought me a beer.
Yeah, you're right. And we have photographic evidence of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm not even sure he was able to, I'm not sure he claimed his free reward beer in Las Vegas. Can you imagine? But yeah, good point, John. And other listeners, so just so you know, great opportunity to get a free beer from me. You just have to buy John one and take a photo of it so that we know it's happening. Because this kind of event...
And evidently remind you of it when you see them the next time, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And actually, Kim Kilroy also got a free beer this World Series because she was using Kev Math's The Phrase That Pays. And I guess we can say it out now here. So earlier in the summer, Kevin Mathers introduced The Phrase That Pays, the RecPoker phrase that pays. And if you're listening to this now, you've probably still got time to catch up to Kevin. So if you see Kevin in Las Vegas, tell him that you come from RecPoker and you're here to say, I don't bet half pot. And if Kevin hears you say, I don't bet half pot, he's going to buy you a beer because he's just that good a guy. God bless that Kevin Mathers. It's not just when it comes to WSOP tweets. The guy does it all. So that's another pet bet theme that we're apparently bringing into the podcast tonight. I know Kim is down in Vegas right now with Elizabeth Bennett Martin and a few other super RecPoker peeps. I know Elizabeth did pretty well in the seniors event, and I think in the ladies event as well. Oh, it was the super seniors? Yeah. So that was exciting. Yeah,
she came in 33rd.
Nice. There you go. Oh yeah, I remember. I saw that tweet coming out. Way to go, Elizabeth. Elizabeth's also playing in the main event. I know because she's doing it as part of a home league, similar to the one that I won my ticket to. So even though it wasn't in the same league, we're going to be kind of friendly fire when Elizabeth and I end up at the final table together. It's going to be really awkward having those two RecPoker patches up there duking it out for the powers of good. But what can you do about that? So that was super cool.
I wasn't able to make it out to the WSOP this year, but they're at a new venue. They're at what used to be Bally's and now is going to be branded the Horseshoe and Paris. Mm-hmm. So What was that like there? How did that differ from the Rio?
Well, I'll tell you, it was super convenient to get around. It was just so comfortable being able to just like walk around. You're already on the strip. There's lots of places you can get food. There's, I stayed at the Flamingo, which I recommend to anybody. So if you're looking at staying on the strip, you're not made of money. Flamingo's got great rooms at decent prices, and they are literally across the street from the Bally's, because you can walk across a little boardwalk. You don't have to go up to one of those crazy escalators and then take the bridge to nowhere across and then back down. No, it's very just like a normal city. You can just cross the street and get right up into Bally's. So I loved that. That made a big difference for me. There's CVS right there, so I can get my peanut butter and jam sandwich fixins. But yeah, I'd say that was, from a convenience point of view, that was certainly hard to top. And I thought the facilities were great. Everyone always complains there's not enough dealers. Some of the dealers aren't trained enough. I don't see that being a venue issue so much as an organizational logistical hurdle. But I didn't notice anything off. I thought it was smooth. I liked the cash table setup. They need more cash tables. That'll be one note. But cranky old guy Jim's always going to complain about there not being enough cash tables.
How did they split it between Bally's and Paris?
The way they mostly did it was almost all the day ones were starting in Bally's, and then some of the other events they were doing in Paris. For very few of them were you sort of in both of them. I played in the tag team event. We'll get into that a bit with Grandpa George Sanford. That was super fun. What a great event. What a great day that was. I played in the Deep Stack, which was at Bally's as well. And I played in the Super Turbo Bounty, which we'll be doing a quick forums edition of the podcast after this, just going over one of the hands from that. And those were all at Bally's. So the only playing at Paris that I did was on the cash tables, which was as fun as ever. God bless this game that we all love so much. And yeah, it was really smooth. They had like all the rooms set up. This is the first year I'd gotten a safety deposit box just to kind of make things a little easier, getting things going. That all went smooth. Working with all the staff was really convenient and easy. They've got a food court in the basement. So if you're a bit of a life nit like me, you don't want to pay $16 for a hot dog. You can go pay $8 for a submarine sandwich instead. Yeah, no, I thought it was smooth and easy and convenient. I think if you're not staying on the strip, maybe it's more complicated, because I didn't, Rob, what did you notice about the parking? People have been complaining and like, thrashing their beards about parking for months. And what was your take on that?
I've spent a lot of time on the strip and particularly in the Bally's and the Paris parking ramp, and I never had a problem whatsoever. Just I went right in. We stayed at Bally's when we were there, and I got to walk around. I walked through Bally's, I walked through Paris. And when they did the Colossus, I was there on Saturday when they did the Colossus, and I'm walking around, and they were actually in both rooms. They were in Bally's and Paris for the Colossus because there were so many people. And I don't know. I thought the parking was fine. I never had an issue with parking at Bally's. So, I guess if you're not on the strip itself, you still have to come in and park. But a lot of people, if you're coming in and flying into Vegas and you get a limo or whatever over to the strip, you don't really have to park, right? You've got everything is right there on the strip between Bally's and Paris. All the WSOP events are going on. The only issue is if you want to go and play one of the tournaments like at Golden Nugget or at Orleans, you're going to have to get on you're going to have to somehow get yourself over there. So I guess for people just flying in and not driving into Vegas, I think there's no issue at all. It's actually probably better. It's probably easier to get around because you don't need to take an Uber to get, to any place because you're right there in the middle of heart of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my sense too. Definitely. It was just convenient and easy, and I didn't see what all the fuss was about with the parking. Maybe it was just fears getting out of control before, which I'm happy to see, And yeah, I think for some of the bigger field events, they did just split the entrance between two. I know for the Super Turbo Bounty event, they were planning on having us play in 2 rooms, and they ended up just consolidating us all into Bally's. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. So the tag team event was just such a hit. So if you're a listener, you might have heard of George Sanford or Grandpa George. He's famous in these parts when it comes to Rec Poker Nation. Mostly what he's famous for is not enjoying the hand called Ace King. He's not a big fan of Ace King. If you know George, you know that. We were not faced with many hands in our tag team event containing cards like aces or kings. We started with about 20,000 chips, and George and I did a really good job of just really hovering at that 20,000 chip level for hours and hours. I don't think we won or lost a pot for more than 5,000 chips the entire time we were there. Sometimes he'd get us up to 25 or 28 or 29. I'd bring us back down to 18, 19, 20. He'd come back in. We had a lot of fun trading it up. We had some really fun people at the table. Apparently June Jenkins was at our table, and we missed each other somehow, which drives me crazy. The real Sammy G was at our table there as well. We had some other fun folks there. I made a bunch of friends, but it really was like summer camp. You know, when you've been, I've got this luckiest job in the world, so I get to interview poker folks on the podcast all the time. And it was so cool just seeing all these amazing friends of the show come by and give me a little fist bump at the table. And it just reminded me just how small and kind and wonderful the poker world is, and how much room there is in it. For recreational players like us that like to have fun. I even saw.
So,
yeah.
How did you decide when to switch out?
Just sort of according to our natural rhythm, and I'd want to go to the bathroom and refill my water bottle, or George would want to go check in on some friends of his that were playing in another table or another session or something like that. So it was very kind of in the flow of the game. If he'd tell me, "Oh, if you're like feeling like you're on a hot streak, just keep sitting there and playing." And it was great. I mean, George and I talked about it beforehand. We really explicitly talked about how okay it was to bust, and that we really wanted to just take the spots that were there, and that whoever busted was going to feel stupid, but it was fine, and we should just like do it anyway. It was me that busted, just for the record, with a little fewer than 20 big blinds left. But it's so funny. We've been kind of like treading water, like I say, at around that 20K. And the blinds were up to 612, I think, or just about to be 612. And I text George, who I can see him over there. They were really strict about not having people in the same playing area together, which I totally understand why. But that it could have been even more fun if you'd had a bit of people around there. But I understand, for the game security, there's no way to do that effectively. So I texted George. I'm like, okay, we're under 20 big blinds now. It's going to be time to look for that spot soon. And he was like, do it, man. Like, when the time is right, don't turn your back on it. And then something like 3 minutes later, I'm strolling over to him.
He regretted saying that, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was just one of those. It was one of those tournaments. We did get a couple good hands, but no one else really had one to go along. Got a couple decent little bluffs through, but it was mostly just a day of small pots and losing more than winning them, unfortunately. So it didn't go our way in that one, but it was so great getting to know George. I understand why y'all like him so much. He's got such a fun character. He's got an interesting past. He knows poker. He's got a kind heart. So it's great to get to know him. And I hope that isn't the last chance I get to play poker with George Sanford. We're going to have to get back to another RecPoker Weekend at Running Aces sometime later this year, because that was a blast. That was heading down to RecPoker Mecca. Was a special little thing there too. And then I thought the Deep Stack event was interesting. It wasn't that deep stacked. Rob, you played the Colossus, right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I played the Colossus back in 2014. So that was 8 years ago. It was the first year they had it. And I think we started really shallow. I mean, we started with like 10,000 chips or something like that.
Right. I don't remember which one it was. In this one, they started us with 30,000 and 40-minute levels, which was very comfortable. But it did start to feel pretty shallow a little later on. And one of the other tournaments happening at the same time, I think, started with 50,000 with the same levels. That felt like more of a deep stack structure. So I jumped into that one to try and get knock a little more main event rust off, try a slower structure, and see if I could practice folding a little bit with mixed results. But I'm glad I got to get my errant non-folds out of the way in a $600 deep stack tournament. And then I entered the, the Super Turbo Bounty. This was an exciting one. This is a $1,500 one-day bracelet event with a $500 bounty associated with it. And I was staying with Taylor Moss. So Taylor and I were staying at the Flamingo together. Had a great time. He's an excellent roommate. And we would get there at different times at the end of the night because we'd bust or bag at different times. I was doing most of the busting. He was doing a lot of bagging. And you know what it's like for these Vegas trips. The only time you really have together is in the morning when you're getting breakfast together, getting ready to go bag or bust another tournament that day. It's hard to coordinate stuff at the end of the day, but it was great hanging out with Taylor. And we were both playing this Super Turbo Bounty. So was Rob Adsom and a couple other players as well. And we'd gone into it just knowing that it was going to be a super turbo. Those blinds go up really fast. And the action was so slow at the tables that it got to the point where I remember I came back from break and the levels, they were just starting 400, 800. And it's 20-minute levels. So finally, I go down and I finally get to the big blind. And we're halfway through the 500, 1,000 level. I didn't even play a blind. I didn't even put a blind in play at the 400, 800 level. We're halfway through the 500, 1,000 levels. Next time I get to put money in. So it was going fast. So we're going to get into a spot on the forums edition after this that I don't know if I missed a spot or maybe just made a good disciplined fold. I still don't know. I even asked Barry Carter and Darrow Carney. I still don't know. But we'll get into that a little later on. But you know me, I'm always kind of regretting those spots I didn't get it in. But I got to break out of that mindset for the main event, right, guys? Probably shouldn't even have played that event, given that it's really kind of training me into making the wrong kind of decisions when it comes to it. But hopefully we'll just use some compartmentalization and get the most out of that. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you might want to even... given that when you play online, you always have the number of big blinds you're sitting there, maybe right on back of a business card, 100 big blinds or 200, whatever it is, so that you see it's such an obscene amount.
I'll be honest with you. Because I play online so much, I do at all times down on my chip stack, I have one stack of chips that is, I've got the normal stack according to the value of the chips. But then I have one other stack that is just whatever 10 big blinds is at this blind level. And every tournament I play in, and every blind level that increases, I change the amount of chips in that stack. And I always know what 10 big blinds are. And that kind of helps me. And, if we're really deep, then I'll change it to 20 or something like that. Or not even worry about it if we're that deep. But you think you're joking, John, but that is exactly the kind of reminder that I need, because otherwise, I'm going to have to use that part of my brain to count up the pot every time and think about what the blinds are and how deep the effective stacks are. And this way, it's just one less thing for my brain to have to work on, because thinking's hard. Thinking is not easy. I know some of you people find it's easy.
And I think the most important piece of advice I could give you is just enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
It's a bucket list item for lots of people. So, enjoy it.
I don't think that'll be a problem for this guy. Anyway, tend to have a pretty good time in these kind of affairs. So much so that I was one of Norman Chad's sleeper picks to win the main event this year. I got a very happy making surprising tweet the other day from Norman freaking Chad. saying that I was one of the dirty dozen. He's got 12 sleeper picks to win the WSOP this year. And your boy is one of them. So that was pretty cool and exciting. So now I got to win it for Norman, right? I mean, come on. He puts himself out there like that, putting his reputation on the line. You know, they're going to give him hell when someone that's not on that list comes through and rips it up. So for Norman Chad, I think we're going to do our best for Norman Chad and RecPoker. Just going to go there and just slaughter that field, slaughter them. So we'll see. We'll just see if it's on 10-handed 1D or 2D, or we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be here before we know it, though. Well, what other? Excuse me, guys. What other last minute tips do you have for me, Rob? I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to sleep well. I'm going to show up early and be comfortable. What else you got for me? Oh, savvy veteran.
2 P's. Position. Patience.
Yep.
The blinds are, 2-hour blinds. You don't have to get involved with marginal hands.
Yep.
And don't get involved out of position. I mean, that's like Tommy Angelo would tell you, right? He would tell you, don't play out of position. There's no reason to. And there's no reason to get involved with marginal holdings. You can wait, make sure you have a good position and a good premium holding. So premium, patience, position.
Nice.
The three P's.
We found another P. I love it. Yeah. In fact, and I think I've decided that I'm just going to let better players exploit me. I'm going to get bluffed. I'm going to get bluffed sometimes, and I'm going to resist the urge to hero call, because they're probably bluffing, because a lot of us recreational players, we have this tendency to kind of project some cleverness onto our opponents, or maybe even getting out of line. And we like to close the loop. Eric Jin, Com Binkley, is always talking about how players we don't like having open loops in our minds. We want to know what he had. We want to know that we were right or that we were wrong. And sometimes, even though we're pretty sure we're wrong, we'll pay just to be able to close that loop. And that's something I'm going to try and do less. I'm just not going to worry about being exploited. I'm just going to probably be exploited a little bit, and that'll be better than making big, terrible decisions. So that's fingers crossed. Well, that's about it for me. We've got some benchmarks that we can talk about a little bit with the website and the community and things like that. I know the home game player list is growing every month. We are 3 members away from having our 900th community member. I just looked it up. We were at 897, which is extremely exciting. We just crossed over 500 YouTube subscribers, which is amazing. So you can tell that RecPoker Nation is growing, that we're moving in the right direction. We get more and more people coming in and enjoying what we're doing here, which is great. I got some really nice emails and tweets this week from people saying that they were appreciative of stuff on the podcast, or that they'd come across RecPoker in some way and that it had brightened their day. And that always warms my heart. So you can always, please don't be shy, email me at jim@rec.poker and let me know what's working and not working. And same for Rob at rec.poker and John at rec.poker. These guys love to hear from you, and it puts a smile on our face when we get some wonderful positive stuff like that. So we got some more comments in the chat here for Norm. Yes, exactly, Dave. We're going to do it for Norm. So looking forward to that. And Ben says, yeah, when you're calling down like that, it feels so nice when you're right, but it feels twice as worse when you're wrong. Yeah, you said it, man. Exactly. And this isn't the kind of tournament where you want to be wrong about that kind of thing. So we shall see. I just don't want to make any big stupid mistakes. I don't care if I get it in good and get unlucky. That's the best way to lose a tournament. I just don't want to make any flat out stupid mistakes. So fingers crossed. Well, John, should we talk about what's going on in home game land? I know it's been a couple weeks since we did one of these live. We had Kara Scott and the 2 poker guys. We did a double recording on June 20th, and I don't know if we had all our stats up to date at that point. Oh, and we got a great note. So Dave is saying in the chat that Ontario seems to be working for home games mostly, which is excellent because I got the email from PokerStars while I was away saying I had to migrate my account over. And I was kind of nervous that was going to be an issue, but that's encouraging from Dave. John, have you heard anything about that?
Yeah. So what I found out from Dave is, I believe when the account transitioned, and I don't know whether it was when he transitioned it or when PokerStars flipped the switch, the any tournaments that already had been scheduled at that point in time, he was unable to see. But anything new that gets scheduled, he was able to see and join up. So as new tournaments got scheduled. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see once you convert your account over, if you lose them, or if that was all of the date that PokerStars flipped the switch. Because I think Dave pretty much converted his account right away. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yes, it's going to be. I'm sure it'll go perfectly smoothly, John, and there won't be any hang-ups at all.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this is one of the things where I don't know the answers to it, because I don't have the ability to play from Toronto or all of these other places. So we're pretty much at PokerStars' whim on whatever happens there. Likewise, we had some good news, bad news type of thing this last week. We actually hit 501 people in the home game club.
Boom.
And then I couldn't add a 502nd. So PokerStars has had a limit for that. So I removed several players that were suspended from when we started requiring accounts. And I've got about 100 more that I can remove for that. But we're definitely growing, and I'm going to have to contact PokerStars to see if we can get beyond that. So I'm hoping that we will continue to grow to force PokerStars to raise that limit for us.
Yes. Well, it gives us a little time to mount our social media campaign, John, because if they're not going to do it peaceably, we're going to take it to them on the Twitter streets and let them know how many people are counting on these Rec Poker home games to come bring that joy of recreational poker into their lives. So,
well, yeah, I mean, this has to be the most important tournament that goes on in PokerStars.
I think so.
Sunday Millions or,
clearly.
W Scoop. Who cares about that? It's all about the Rec Poker.
I'm sure they've got their minds in the right place when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we just got to give them a good excuse to get in line. Those PokerStars gang, they know what they're doing. But yeah, so start thinking about a hashtag that we can use to shame/coax PokerStars into raising the number of people allowed in our home game club, because we've got more than 501 Rec Poker fans who want to play in our home games. So we just got to do something about that. So start thinking about that. Send your hashtags to, I was going to say send them to John Somsky at Poker Geek MN, but he's been a bad boy over in the Twitterverse. And
for some reason, my Twitter account has been suspended, and I am working with them to get that undone. And unless it got hacked, and if anyone noticed, did I send out a bunch of inappropriate things?
There was a bunch of stuff about furries. There was a bunch of furry related stuff that I thought was uncharacteristic for you, but I'm not one to judge, what someone does in their own free time.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know why it got suspended. I'm still trying to figure that out. And Twitter has been extremely slow. And it's kind of hard to say. It's hard for me to say, I don't think my account should be suspended. You obviously made a mistake here, but I don't even know what caused it, or I don't even tweet that often. So I don't know. I'm at a loss.
Folks, you heard there's the call to action this week. Go at Jack, tag Twitter support, and tell them that Poker Geek MN needs to be reinstated. He's a valuable resource to the poker ecosystem. God damn it. Let's get this guy back in
free
the seat.
The Poker Geek.
Free the Poker Geek. There we go. I like that. Well, we found our hashtag. That was easy. Nice work.
There
Rob.
You go.
Yeah, free the Poker Geek. All right, Poker Geek, why don't you lead us through some results then?
Absolutely. So we had Vanquisto. Benquisto.
Benquisto.
Yeah, Benquisto. Anyway, he won. He or she won his second nightly tournament. Tracus 701. Mitch Petracus. I am just slaughtering these names tonight. I apologize to everyone. Won his
Where's
first
Chris
nightly
Riano?
event. Yeah. We have Kate KKKK8E. Kate Ibbenson got her first nightly victory.
Nice.
A really mad guy, got his second nightly victory for the year.
Sweet.
Stewie 13, Stuart Carriage still on a tear.
Wow. And I think
got his sixth nightly victory, his ninth victory this year overall.
And I think one of the winners that you just mentioned is his mom. So that's a family. I think KKKK88888 is Stuart Carriage's mom. So
yes, it is.
Oh,
how about that?
So poker runs in the family then.
Yeah, apparently.
Excellent.
It's twice in the same week. Way to go, team.
MN Ted, Philip Fuhrer got his third nightly victory for the year. Aces 5320.
Oh, Kathy.
54320. Kathy Chang got her first daily mixed victory for the year.
Not her last, I'm sure.
Oh, no. And then Duck and Run 99, Michael Savage got his first international victory for the year. And then Aces 54320, Kathy Chang is back and got her first international victory.
Wow. For the year. All right. Pouring
so that was the same day. Back-to-back tournaments.
Nice, Kathy.
Then we have Magra 44, Doug Draybeck.
Yep.
Won the LPP tournament,
no.
His first tournament for the year.
No. We
first
can't
ever.
We can't let Doug get another month of Learn Pro Poker training. He's so good already. He took me out of two of the other tournaments. He took me out of two of them.
He probably doesn't need it, but Doug, if you're listening and you want your free month, just contact Jim at rec.poker and get your free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Wow. Yeah, even Doug Draybeck might be able to learn something from Learn Pro Poker. I'd do it, Doug. I'd do it.
Yeah, it's bad news for us if he gets any better, but I'm sure Learn Pro Poker can help him do that. Then we are on to our second week. East Coast Bitter Ben got his second nightly victory.
In the
now
chat
then
right
KB.
Now. Nice.
Yes. Now then KB, Doug Behrens got his fifth nightly victory for the year.
Doug.
And Michael Babker got his fourth nightly victory for the year. Geek, Mark Kiki, that's Mark Geek Sr., got his fourth nightly victory for the year. John Bensky got his third nightly victory for the year. Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld got his fifth nightly victory for the year.
Also in the chat tonight. Right on, guys.
Excellent. Then we have a couple of, remember how I said we were at PokerStars Whims? If you don't sign up for the tournament by the time it starts, if we don't have at least two players, then PokerStars cancels the tournament. So if everyone wants to late reg, the tournament doesn't actually run. Mm-hmm. So our mixed event did not run this last Saturday, nor did the 8 a.m. international event. However, for the 2 p.m. international event, Keck Geek 65, that would be Keck Geek Jr., Jacob Kiki, got his first international victory for the year. And then GF Hawk, Eric Romo, won the Learn Pro Poker event. So he can contact Jim at rec.poker to get his free month to Learn Pro Poker.
Let's go. Yeah, congratulations to Eric and to all our other winners. And it's true. I think with a lot of the gang down in Vegas, it's a good time to get into some of these games. In fact, I think the Tuesday night online play and hang that we're doing every week, we didn't even get a full seat last week because not everyone could do it. So it's a great chance to come in and win your way in. John, what's the mixed game coming up?
The next mixed game coming up should be Stud 8 or better.
All right. And what about the one after that?
The one after, I don't know, to tell you the honest truth, but where they are posted, everything is posted on the RecPoker site. So if you go there, you can see what we're planning for the rest of the year.
There you go, rec.poker/home games. Sorry, I swallowed a bug. Oh, this is brutal. All right. Well, I think we're going to take this as our time to get out of here, folks. Thanks for listening to the Rec Poker Podcast. Thank you for joining us. And thanks to Mark Prashant and Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And you, the listeners. We'll talk again real soon, I hope.